Greetings, my name is Princess Ndlovu. Ngiyalamukela namhlanje kuhlelo lwethu lama-podcast at the Girls Table, and our podcast today is on gender dimensions on corruption. Evidence shows that omama abaningi kakhulu bayahlukumezeka nge-corruption ngendlela ezihlukeneyo, njalo futhi masikhangela siqhathanisa omama labo baba, kungani omama kakhulu yibo abathanda uku-affectwa yi-corruption kakhulu kulabo baba ngendlela ezihlukeneyo. Ngakho-ke i-corruption also limits young women's access to public resources, information, and also kuma-decision making. Ngakho-ke kuya-increase kakhulu i-cultural, social, and political discrimination. Ngilo Makhosi ngiyakuyamukela ku-podcast yethu namhlanje, and ngicela ukuzwa from wena ukuthi how does i-corruption affect i-gender equality? Njalo, do people in your community perceive men and women differently?
Corruption affects gender equality to a very great extent because corruption marginalizes the already vulnerable women and youths living up in poverty, putting basic services and goods beyond their reach and leaving them lagging behind in economic, social, and political development. Due to harmful and cultural practices brought in by a patriarchy, you'll discover that many people in our communities perceive women and men differently. Many view men as leaders, as breadwinners, and also as leaders in all activities pertaining to religious, social, and economic activities. And they view women as subordinates, as if women don't have anything to do with economical development, as women don't have anything to do with leadership pertaining to their different capacities. So there's a lot that happens within communities, and due to such stereotypes, we find ukuthi the majority of the community believe ukuthi men and women should be treated differently.
Okay. So ngicela ukubuza ke ngombono wakho, ubona ngathi obaba ba-increase yini corruption ku-community yakho? Ngombono wakho njalo mawukuthi ba-increase obaba i-corruption, ngicela ukuthi ungishare nje just one example. Ngicela ungishare nje just one example etshengisa ukuthi obaba vele ba-increase i-corruption ngempela.
Men play a part in the increase of corruption, even though women also play a part. But since we are living in a patriarchal society, you soon discover that many power brokers are men, and it is easier for men to pay facilitation fee when in need of a particular service, and it is easier for men to create cabals for looting, creating groups for the embezzlement of funds, and to grease each other's pockets. It is easier for men to do so just because men are good at existing as groups. So it is easier for men to bribe another man, yet it is difficult for a woman to pay a bribe just because women view corruption as something that is worse.
Okay, so what approaches do you propose, Wena, for addressing both the corruption and gender inequality effectively?
For long back, we've been using an approach that is called gender mainstreaming. Yes, it has been working, but it hasn't brought in the required results. So we need to come up with approaches that are different in order for us to achieve gender equality and to fight corruption. I think one other way that we can use is the use of gender audits within workplaces, and also financial audits, so that we see that there's no embezzlement of funds. And also there is need to to use, when it comes to budgeting, the gender responsive budgeting, looking at the particular needs for different genders, so that we come up with ways of empowering both genders, and so that we can achieve equality.
When it comes to the impact of corruption on women compared to men, how can we effectively measure that, and what indicators should be considered?
There are a lot of indicators that we can use when we're trying to measure the impact of corruption on women. The first measure can be trying to look at the health index. Who is really affected when it comes to assessing basic health services? We'll discover that women are the most affected due to embezzlement of funds that are meant to provide for cheaper and basic health services. We can also look at the education index. The majority of women in the rural areas, we discover that they don't go, they are not a priority when it comes to learning. So that also can be used as an index of measuring how corruption affects young women.
So ngicela ukuzwa Makhosi ukuthi okay, after all nje sesikhulumile ukuthi konke, ngicela ukuzwa ukuthi yiphi nje role, yiphi indima engadlalwa ngobaba just ukusupport gender equality and combating corruption. Kungayenziwa njani? How can they be engaged kuma efforts lawo?
Corruption and gender equality are a human rights issue, and they are a humanity issue. So in order for us to achieve equality, there is need for working together, and we cannot fight corruption in isolation. We cannot say men are corrupt and leave women aside. We cannot say men perpetuate GBV and leave women aside. We need everyone to play a role in transforming communities for better. We need men to engage with women so that they can do better when it comes to administrative and leadership aspects. So how can they be engaged in the efforts? We need community engagements. We need to speak with men. We need to encourage them. And also we need to help them realize the impact of corruption and gender inequality in the transformation of communities and how it is affecting sustainable development.
That's very true. That's very true. Ngiyabonga kakhulu Makhosi for your response. Makhosi uthi yena we need to work together in solving this. Ngoba uthi yena angeke sithi baba ba corrupt sichiyo mama aside, angeke sithi mama ba corrupt lakhona sichiyo obaba aside, but we need to work together. Ukuthi kuze kube le corruption is between abantu ababili. So it means ukuthi kumele sisebenze together and try to fight this. Ngiyabonga kakhulu response yakho Makhosi, is really deep. Ngiyabonga ama contributions akho bela ku podcast yethu yanamhlanje. And Tina, to our listeners, what do you think? Uthini wena, ucabangani? Uthini ngalokho esikhuluma ngakho namhlanje? Ngicela utsho ma ulakho ufuna ukukutsho utsho ku comment section yethu laphana, utsho ukuthi wena what do you think, ucabangani? Siyabonga kakhulu ukuba lani bakithi ku podcast yethu yanamhlanje ye The Girls Table, okhulumayo njalo nguPrincess Ndlovu.